Welcome to Module 8 of the Proofpoint Essentials Accredited Administrator course. In this module, we will be providing an overview of how archiving works in the product. We'll look at setting up SMTP connections to the archive, setting up Essentials archiving to work with Microsoft Office 365, configuring retention periods and legal holds, as well as assigning privileges to users, and how to search for archived mails. First, let's look at how to turn on email archiving in Proofpoint Essentials. The Email Archive feature is available with the Proofpoint Essentials Professional package. Click the Features tab under Company Settings and select the Enable Email Archive checkbox. Click Save when you're done. To access the email archive, click Archive in the Proofpoint main menu. A new tab will open in your browser. By default, the Archive tab will open on the Search page. We'll look at search functionality in a moment. First, though, we'll look at some of the menus available on the UI. In the top right-hand corner are icons that allow you to log out of the archiving page and access the Essentials help site. Look out for the question mark icon on the lower right-hand corner, which provides you with contextual help for tasks related to the page you are on. On the left of the screen is the Main Navigation tab. The magnifying glass icon is a quick link to the search page. Click the star icon to see a list of any saved searches you've made. We'll be looking at creating saved searches a little further on. The person icon opens the Users page where you can manage user permissions in the Essentials archive. Use the slider to access settings to configure mail retention periods and legal holds. Again, we'll be looking at those in more detail later in this module. Finally, the gear icon is used to access the Connection page, where you can set up connections between and Essentials Archive and your mail server. We'll look next at how to set up a connection between Essentials Archive and a local Exchange server. The Proofpoint Essentials email archive supports multiple connection methods. SMTP is the preferred connection type for archiving messages. SMTP allows messages to be locally journaled and then sent via an SMTP connection to Proofpoint for storage. We'll look at setting up an SMTP connection for Microsoft Exchange. To create a new connection, click the gear icon on the navigation panel in the Email Archive page and select Connections from the Settings menu. Click the plus icon on the Connections page. On the dialog that appears, enter a descriptive name for the connection, such as Archive Local Exchange. Select SMTP Local Exchange as the connection type. Enter the IP addresses of the locations from which SMTP requests will be coming. Click Next when you're done. You will be presented with a unique email address. This address is required to complete setting up an SMTP connection for Microsoft Exchange, so copy and store it for future reference. We'll need it later on. Click Done when you're finished. Next, we'll cover configuring Exchange for SMTP journaling for the entire organization. Remote journaling should be enabled directly to the Proofpoint Essentials SMTP address, not by using the forwarding rule. In the Exchange Management Console, expand Organization Configuration, then click Hub Transport. In the Toolbox Actions pane, click New Journal Rule. Enter a name for the journal rule in the Rule Name field. Next, enter the email address to which journal reports should be sent. This is the email address provided when configuring the connector in Proofpoint Essentials. You should make sure the global option is enabled in the Scope area and that the Enable Rule checkbox is selected. When you are done, click New and then Finish. Having looked at connecting Essentials Archive to a local Exchange server, we'll look next at how to get Essentials Archive to work with Microsoft Office 365. We'll be looking at 3 separate tasks. We'll explain how to create an SMTP connection for Office 365 in Proofpoint Essentials Email Archive. Next, we'll show you how to set up a dedicated outbound connector in the Microsoft Exchange Admin Center so that all journaling traffic is delivered to the journaling mailbox. And finally, we'll look at configuring Office 365 to remote journal message data to Proofpoint Essentials. Let's look at the first of these steps, setting up an SMTP connection for Office 365. To create a new connection, click the gear icon on the navigation panel in the Email Archive page and select Connections from the Settings menu. Click the plus icon on the Connections page. On the dialog that appears, enter a descriptive name for the connection, such as Office 365. Select SMTP Office 365 as the connection type. At this point, you'll need to enter a user account for the undeliverable journal address. This should be a dedicated user account that you have defined in Office 365. Enter the address and click Next. You will be presented with a unique email address. This address is required to configure Office 365 journaling, so copy and store it for your future reference. We'll need it later on. Click Done when you're finished. The connection has now been added and is enabled. You can now proceed to complete your Office 365 journaling configuration. Office 365 provides a remote journaling functionality to send a copy of all mail sent or received by members of a defined security group to a remote SMTP address. Proofpoint provides you with the SMTP address to use for this configuration. While Proofpoint has a highly redundant mail infrastructure for receiving journal reports, we recommend configuring the Office 365 notification feature to inform you if journal reports cannot be delivered for any reason. A dedicated outbound connector must be created so that all journaling traffic to the journaling mailbox will be delivered directly to the email archive instead of being routed through the Proofpoint Essentials email gateway. To do this, first log into the Exchange Admin Center in Office 365. Click Mail Flow in the navigation panel and then Connectors. Click the plus icon on the Mail Flow page to create a new Smart Host. In the dialog that opens, select Office 365 from the From drop-down list and Partner Organization from the To drop-down list. Then click Next. Enter a name for the new connector in the Name field and ensure that the Turn It On checkbox is selected. Click Next to continue. The next step is to define when the connector will be used. Ensure that the Only When Email Messages Are Sent to These Domains radio button is selected. Click the plus icon and enter a domain of the mail server in the Add Domain field. In this example, we'll add *earchive.cloud in this field. Click OK when you're done. On the next page, check that the Use the MX record associated with the partner's domain radio button is selected and click Next. Ensure that the Always Use Transport Layer Security to secure the connection checkbox and Issued by a Trusted Certificate Authority radio button are selected and click Next. Review the summary information on the next page, and if it is correct, click Next. To validate the connector, click the plus icon and enter a test email address in the Add Email field. Click OK and then Validate. The validation will fail, but this is expected behavior and you should simply proceed to the next step. Click Save when you're done. Next, we'll look at configuring Office 365 to remote journal message data to Proofpoint Essentials. This step assumes you are enabling journaling for all users. In the Exchange Admin Center in Office 365, click Compliance Management in the navigation menu, and then Journal Rules. On the Journal Rules page, click Select Address. On the dialog that appears, click Browse and select an admin email account. This account will receive notification of non-deliverable journal reports. Next, click the plus icon to open the Add a New Journal Rule dialog. In the Send Journal Reports To field, enter the unique SMTP address you were provided with when setting up a new archiving connection. Enter a descriptive name for the rule in the Name field. From the If the message is sent to or received from drop-down list, choose Apply to All Messages. And from the Journal the Following Messages drop-down list, choose All Messages. Click Save to save your changes, and then Yes to confirm that you want the rule to apply to all messages. Once you've set up the connection, it only remains to specify how long mail should be retained in the archive. Click the Retentions option in the Settings menu to define a period between 1 and 10 years as the data retention period. The Legal Hold feature, if enabled, will cause mail in the archive to be retained indefinitely and will override any retention period configured. If the Company Legal Hold option is enabled, all mail in the archive will be retained indefinitely. You should note that disabling the company-wide legal hold will dispose of messages that are older than the currently defined retention period, so use caution when enabling or disabling this feature. You can also place the archived messages of individual users on legal hold by searching for them in the Individual User Hold field. To enable the legal hold, click Save on this page. Once you have created a connection and mail has been added to your archive, you can use the powerful search features to locate mail in the archive. Use the search bar at the top of this page to search all mailboxes if you have the privileges assigned to do so, your own mailbox, or a specific mailbox, again if you have privileges to search there. We'll look at assigning user privileges a little later on in this module. Click the magnifying glass icon in the navigation to search emails in the archive. You can filter archived emails by sender, recipient, mailbox, subject line, text in the email body, by attachments, or any combination of these. You can also restrict searches to defined date ranges by clicking the calendar icon and selecting an option from the drop-down menu. Click the Options icon to view the extended search menu, where you can create more complex searches that would be difficult to create solely in the search bar. Once your search has run, you'll see a list of the messages that meet your search criteria. You can sort search results by date received, date sent, or message size using the Sort menu. Display search result in ascending or descending order by clicking the arrow button next to the Sort menu. Click on any one mail to view its contents in the archiving page. If you use the same search criteria frequently, you can save searches. Click the star icon on the right of the search page to save search criteria. Use the star icon in the navigation menu on the left to view, edit, and run the saved searches you already created. The Users page lists all users with mail in the archive. All users defined in Proofpoint Essentials are also users within the email archive. User accounts are synced every 5 minutes. Removing a user from Proofpoint Essentials does not remove them from Email Archive, since they need to remain associated with archived messages. Such users are automatically marked as inactive. All users are automatically end users, who can search the archive for messages they sent or received. In addition, users may be granted additional roles. Administrators have the rights to manage the email archive configuration. They can add, edit, or remove a connection. They can set retention periods and enable or disable legal holds. Discovery users have the rights to search the entire archive or specified user mailboxes. Click the pencil icon on the row assigned to an individual user on the Users page to change permissions for that user. Next, we'll look at forwarding mail from the Essentials archive. You can forward mail to internal recipients only. To forward a mail, do a search and open the mail in the archiving UI. Then click the arrow icon on the right. Enter a valid internal email address in the dialog box that appears and click Send. That's it for the training portion of this course. The final module of the Proofpoint Essentials Accredited Administrator course is given over to the course accreditation exam. This is a 20-question multiple-choice exam based on the course content we've just covered.